now you know why we have these awards, to recognize people who have achieved so much, and that's why it's such a privilege for me to be here again this year, helping to introduce another woman who has aimed high and conquered and excelled. And just a quick thanks to Elizabeth and Linda and the rest of the team for their commitment to improving the lives of girls and women. You know, we're here every year to celebrate and recognize accomplished and fearless women. So it's truly an honor and a privilege for me to return and recognize the significant accomplishments of my friend and my former colleague, Kathy Zachem. Kathy, as you can see from her profile, is determined, directed, and dedicated. So let me provide you with a little bit more color about her background. During Kathy's childhood, she was raised in Freedom, Pennsylvania. You couldn't ask for a better name. Now, Freedom, Pennsylvania was supported by the steel mills, and the steel mills provided jobs and security for that blue-collar town. Hard work, devotion to family, and grit dominated her upbringing. She saw what it took to survive and to excel, and for immigrants to come over and find work and aim high. Aiming high seemed to come naturally because she had a Yugoslavian immigrant grandmother who raised 8 children. And she often stated to Kathy in her broken English, "You no need no man, you make it on your own." This came down to Kathy's mother and father, who also supported her aspirations and taught her the value of hard work and dedication. So they saved at a job in the steel mills so that Kathy could be the first member of her family to go to college, and they also sent Kathy's sister Karen to college. And that was very, very important to them, and they sent to her the signal that we're going to give you the tools and we want you to run with them. And from the beginning, Kathy was running and not walking. She defied the odds by leaving her small town to attend George Washington University in Washington, D.C. Well, this was unheard of. How could someone from Freedom, Pennsylvania be expected to go off to Washington, D.C.? But she would have none of that. She went, she excelled in college, and then when she came home in the summers to work and to save money, she worked as a pipe fitter in the steel mills. And I think she was probably the first Freedom Bulldog high school cheerleader to work in the steel mill. And I think it says a lot about an attitude and a perseverance that she's carried throughout her life, that by the time she left, she had won over the hearts of the union steelworkers. College was just the first of a number of stepping stones for Kathy. Even before graduating from college, she moved to what would become her new home in Washington, D.C., and that's the law firm of Wilkinson, Barker, Nauer. She started off as a file clerk. She attended law school at night, and then she was promoted from file clerk to accounting clerk to paralegal to associate to partner to management. And all along the way, she was supported and mentored by leaders in the firm, some of whom are here today, and by members of the firm, and they're here to help celebrate her award. And all along the way, she reached out to young women and associates and encouraged them to come and pursue the practice of law and to excel. I was fortunate to get to know Kathy in 1992 when I was working at the FCC, and she came in on behalf of several of her clients to talk to me about a particular issue. And I distinctly remember how she was so very articulate and knowledgeable and reasonable. And you'd think that wouldn't be exception, but it is, to come in and give you a path that's consistent with public policy goals and a client's goals. That's huge. So when I left the FCC to join a wireless company, there was only one choice for outside counsel, and that was Kathy. And quickly her reputation and her client base grew and expanded. I suppose it's no surprise that she was eventually lured away from her law firm by yet another challenging opportunity. In 2008, she joined Comcast, where she's now Senior Vice President, Regulatory and State Legislative Affairs. Now, while this particular opportunity has put the two of us professionally at odds on a few issues here and there, my deep respect for Kathy and her capabilities has not changed. She's ethical, she's tough, she's driven, and she's fair. At Comcast, she was in on the ground floor as the company evaluated and ultimately moved ahead with the NBC Universal transaction. She oversaw all of the company's regulatory strategy associated with that, and it led to this successful acquisition. And since joining the company, she has built a trusted team with a lot of very talented women to represent the interests of Comcast before state and federal regulators. Why this is personally so pleasing for me to be able to introduce Kathy is that over the years we've raised our daughters together, we've dished about our husbands, we've supported each other through family crises, we've counseled each other on career choices, and we've commiserated about never having enough hours in the day. I am in awe of her energy, her vision, leadership, creativity, and devotion to Dan, her husband, who's here, Alex, her daughter, and the whole rest of her extended family. She also gives back to the legal community, mentors young women, and volunteers for anything and everything. So when I have to think about Kathy, I think she has lived her life as described by Irma Bombeck in the following quote: "When I stand before God at the end of my life, I would hope that I would not have a single bit of talent left, and I could say, I used everything you gave me." I'm deeply honored to present Kathy the 2012 Aiming High Award.
Wow, thanks, Kathleen, not just for that very kind introduction, but our many, many years of friendship. I'm also so proud to be following in your footsteps, and Jane Sherburne, you too. So nice to see you after all those years. Just very honored to be following in both of your footsteps and receiving this recognition today. I'm honored to receive the Aiming High Award. Thank you to my dear friends and colleagues at Davis Polk for the nomination, and to Legal Momentum for recognizing me today, along with the other recipients. I'm humbled standing alongside of them. I do want to take 1 minute to ask all of you in the next day or two to skim the Legal Momentum website to learn more about the extraordinary work they do to advance the economic and personal security of women and girls. You will no doubt be impressed. I was. We all need to be reminded often that so many other women do not have it as easy as we do. With the assistance of organizations like Legal Momentum, they are given opportunities that might not otherwise have come their way, opportunities that they deserve. While I'm proud to be acknowledged for aiming high, the real credit goes to those who helped me believe that what I can do in my life was for the most part limitless. From a very, very young age, as Kathleen noted, I was surrounded by people who taught me that nothing was more important, especially for a girl, to have self-confidence. And with that, and hard work and a love of people, my family promised me that opportunities would be before me. Those people who taught me all that are my parents and my big, big extended family. My parents both each have 7 siblings. That's 28 aunts and uncles. That's 28 additional parents, all living in the same town. My husband will confirm we are a large, loud, and demanding group. Probably explains a lot to my teammates. Learning self-confidence in my early years was mandatory and critical for survival. Let me paint one picture to help you understand. My maternal grandmother, and my husband knows how important she was to me, hosted all of her family every Sunday for dinner, every single Sunday. I learned a great deal during those gatherings, learnings that I use today. But it was not easy. My grandmother's home was extremely small. The cousins fought to get seated at the first serving of dinner, not only to have food, but to have time to prepare for the early evening talent show that we had every week. Imagine the different talents us children needed to impress the crowd in a new and different way every single Sunday. As a result, I have a few secrets to share, but really needs to stay inside this room. Kathleen had one thing wrong. I was not a cheerleader. I am an impressive baton twirler. Single and duet style, along with my younger sister, Karen. I was also the first female to play the part of Atticus in our 6th production of To Kill a Mockingbird. And most importantly, and my husband has heard this story many times, if I was not selected by the boys in our family for their weekly efforts to duplicate the latest tricks of the Harlem Globetrotters, my mother would boldly announce that we were not coming back the following Sunday because her family was simply not fair to her girls. Each week at the end of the talent show, us kids were presented with our next difficult challenge. Following our bows and curtain calls, we were then asked to politely and without running head to the kitchen to form a single file line where my grandmother would serve up Neapolitan ice cream to each of her grandchildren, one by one. You remember Neapolitan ice cream. The 3 flavors, all so neatly and magically, we thought, set forth in the gallon container: chocolate, vanilla, and the dreaded strawberry. None of us, not one single one of us, of all the cousins, liked strawberry. Strategic thinking and perseverance I learned at a young age. Week in and week out, those qualities were needed to avoid the dreaded strawberry. The final move during those Sunday nights was to successfully convince your parents not to leave before Lassie aired. And if you've succeeded at that, to quickly get a front row seat at the only black and white TV at my grandma's home. Otherwise, the noise from the adult poker table in the same room, or the traditional Yugoslav tamburitsin music playing on the stereo, would drown out the peaceful world of Timmy and his dog. I don't know which of these Sunday challenges were more difficult, but I can tell you that by the time we got in the car on Sunday evenings, we were exhausted from our hard work, but we had the qualities of self-confident youngsters. My daily family experiences, like the one I just described, taught me a great deal, and I'm grateful for that. But there were more families to come. As Kathleen mentioned, my family at Wilkinson Barker Nauer, that's the law firm where I spent my first 23 years practicing law. We built one of the leading communications law firms in the country from the ground up when many thought we couldn't. We learned that there was no substitute for our combined interest in producing top-notch legal work, and we ran a successful business alongside the big guys. And most importantly, we learned that the thing that mattered the most was our love for and respect for each other. To my new family at Comcast NBC Universal, although it's hard to believe it's been 4 years, I'm so glad that you adopted me. Comcast is like no other place, as we know. People are encouraged to think, they're encouraged to speak up, and they're encouraged to serve their community. We are challenged daily, really challenged daily, and there is never a dull moment, but our work is very exciting, and it's very much appreciated. When David Cohen, who's here today, was recruiting me from the law firm that I thought I would spend my life at, he had to convince me that I would not be bored. We laugh about that now, David. We laugh about that a lot. I pray for boredom. It has not come. David, thanks for convincing me to make the change and for allowing me to learn every day from the tremendous job you do. To Kyle and my sisters, particularly my twin Lynn, who lead the good fight in Washington, along with Art Burke, Mike Hammer, Jim Casserly, David Solomon, and their teams, you're simply the best. And to Joe Waz, Art Block, Darcy, Senna, Karen, for being willing to show me the way from the first day I arrived. As I was putting together my comments for today and thinking about the important qualities of self-confidence and hard work and how essential both are to aiming high, I laughed when I thought of the group of people that I just mentioned. None of us are lacking in those categories. We're quite a sight to see working together. And to our extended legal team, so many of you are here today from the the many firms that are here. Thank you for your legal skills and your 24/7 helplines, and additional thanks for your friendships. That has been an added bonus to my joining Comcast. Finally, to my family of all families, my husband Dan, who surprised me to be here today, and our daughter Alex, who's back home in the midst of studying for finals in that very difficult junior year that many of you know about. Dan and Alex are the world to me. They are my biggest supporters, and when I need it, my biggest critics. And they keep me grounded as only a husband and a teenage daughter can do. We are so fortunate to have each other, and I love them both. In closing, to my teammates over the years, thank you for being patient with me as I learned, and we all need to, that it takes a mixture of people with different talents to make a successful venture, whatever that venture might be. In one's early years, it all seems so simple. Why not just do it my way? But we all know that that's not what leads to the best work product. So thank you for your patience as I learned that. Thanks again to Legal Momentum for this award, and to all of you for being here today.